You learn something new every week. I always thought Lizzo was famous for being famous. Apparently she's a singer. I had no idea about that, but there was some accusations against her, and I ended up reading the articles and I found out, oh, she's a singer. She's got a tour. And of course, she's got a reality show and all that kind of stuff that famous people have these days. And some of these allegations are actually quite serious. And I think Lizzo is going to be a little bit of trouble on this one. But there are some other allegations in here that are absolutely BS. I don't even know why they were included in the suit. And they kind of make the accusers really sound stupid and their lawyers sound really, really greedy because they're really stretching to find something to complain about in certain aspects of this. If you have not heard, a trio of former tour dancers for Lizzo are taking the artist to court for allegedly subjecting them to a hostile work environment that included instances of sexual harassment. The suit, which the firm representing the plaintiff said was filed on Tuesday in Los Angeles Superior Court, accuses Lizzo and employees of Big Girl Big Touring Incorporated of interrogating dancers about their weight and pressuring them to engage in sexually explicit acts at sex shows. It details an incident in Amsterdam this year where staff were allegedly pushed to engage with nude performers. Stating, Lizzo began inviting cast members to take turns touching the nude performers, catching dildos launched from the performers' vaginas, and eating bananas protruding from the performers' vaginas. That was all in the complaint. And as somebody that's been to Amsterdam three times, yeah, that stuff is actually definitely happening in Amsterdam, whether they went to the shows or not. I imagine they must have, or they wouldn't have had their complaint. I went to Amsterdam with a good friend of mine, and then we also had two younger people, one of whom actually worked for me. And when we went to Amsterdam and we actually sat down, I was like, you two are going to have to go and do your own thing because I do not want to be going to the sex shows and the porn museum and all that weird stuff that goes on in Amsterdam with you because it could get uncomfortable. Because technically, like I was a supervisor at the time, it would just be weird. And it sounds like Lizzo and some of the other people in charge at Big Girl Big Tour probably shouldn't have taken these ladies out for a trip to the banana show or whatever the hell they want to call it or something. That's weird stuff, especially if you're at the show and then it feels like your boss and then your boss's boss are trying to make you do stuff that you're really uncomfortable with. And when you're in Amsterdam, things are going to be happening around you that will make you uncomfortable. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on in that city. I remember when I accidentally ended up in like the heroin district. I was just walking. I was like, what am I doing here? There's needles all over the place. There's like a dookie like in the middle of the sidewalk and stuff. I was like, I got to get out of here. But they probably shouldn't have taken the ladies to that show, and then obviously they shouldn't have been pressuring them to take part in the slinging of dildos in bananas by vaginas. That doesn't seem very professional, and that feels like it's pretty legit. Like you shouldn't be doing that, especially if you're pressuring the people to do it. That's pretty gross. When we get into the further allegations, things seem to fall apart a bit. Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams, and Noel Rodriguez make several allegations in the complaint, including religious and racial harassment, disability discrimination, assault, and false imprisonment. They've sued Lizzo, her production company, and Shirlene Quigley, captain of the singer's dance team. The suit says Lizzo, regarded as an advocate of body positivity, pressed Davis for an explanation why she seemed less bubbly and vivacious than she did prior to the tour starting, according to the complaint. She argues the questions were thinly veiled concerns about her weight gain, which Lizzo had previously called attention to after noticing it at South by Southwest Music Festival. I don't know. It's like I said, it's kind of a reach to say you seem less bubbly and vivacious means why are you getting fatter? I think that you are gaining weight on purpose, and I think you need to start losing weight because you're the backup dancer on my tour, and I don't want you gaining weight and taking some spotlight off me or whatever. So, you know, if there's something a little bit more concrete, just noticing someone has weight gain, I don't think is unprofessional. Asking somebody about weight gain, I don't think really is unprofessional because there are a lot of medical concerns out there where weight gain is a symptom. And if you're noticing somebody is starting to gain weight and they work for you or in the same company or whatever, you probably should show at least a little bit of concern. And once they tell you to mind your own business, then you kind of leave it alone. So I will admit it is funny because she is the body positivity celebrity out there. And now there's accusations that she's asking people why they're gaining so much weight. And it doesn't really feel on brand. But when you see the quote and you think about it, it's going to be real hard to prove that there was any malice on Lizzo's part and she was trying to, I don't know, influence them or encourage them to lose weight or something like this. Especially when you see the dancers. It's not like they aren't body positivity people as well. You know what I mean? They're already pretty big ladies as far as I could see. So I don't think you're going to go anywhere with that accusation. Big Girl, Big Touring Inc. was also accused of religious harassment through Shirlene Quigley, who allegedly monitored Davis's virginity and singled out Rodriguez as a non-believer. The complaint adds, while Miss Quigley was for sure the most extreme in her religious convictions, her sentiments were softly echoed by others in supervisory roles at BGBT. Before rehearsals and performances, the dance team would pray together. While it was not an official requirement for team members to participate in these prayers, it became clear that engagement was compulsory. This one also is kind of weird as well. It's like, I get the monitoring of the virginity sounds really weird, but how was she monitoring her virginity? Was she asking her, are you still a virgin? Or was she saying, you better remain a virgin because if you ain't married, you're going to hell. And if you're going to hell, you're not a Christian and you're a non-believer, you can't work for my company. Like there's a big difference between that. From a person that maybe thought she was friends with them. This Shirlene Quigley lady, who was the captain of the dance team, maybe thought that they were friends and was having a personal, friendly conversation. Obviously, it wasn't received that way. And then the team starting to pray before performances together, and there's no requirement for it, but it became compulsory. Well, how did it become compulsory? Was it because they wouldn't start the prayer without all the team members being there? When did you object? When did any of the dancers actually say, I don't want to be a part of this prayer session? And when did they bring up their concerns that they felt like they were being pressured into having to be believers or act like they were, or they were going to get fired, or there was going to be some type of retribution at the hands of the leadership at BGBT as far as these dancers and their future with the company goes? It sounds like there were some religious people that are pretty open about their convictions, and there was a friendly relationship there. And some of the people that were believers actually were praying, and other people felt pressured into doing it without anyone actually saying that they had to do it. So that one's another one. It's like, I don't know. Like the monitoring somebody's virginity seems kind of weird if you were doing it like from a supervisory role. Like, as your boss, I would really like to know how your virginity is going. Do you still have it? Then you get kind of weird. But if they're friends and they're like, hey, I know that you went on a date with that other guy and I knew that you were a virgin. Did anything happen? Is there anything you would like to talk about? Because we're friends and we're having a friendly conversation here. They're like, there's a big difference. And I can't believe I'm defending Lizzo, but I guess I am for the most part on all these, although there are a couple of things to go. One of which I don't think sounds very good. The assault claim stems from a confrontation Rodriguez and Lizzo, who allegedly approached the dancer aggressively, yelling profanities, cracking her knuckles, and balling her fist, apparently preparing herself to attack. Lizzo allegedly had to be restrained. Additionally, Davis alleges assault after she was confined to a room against her will and was told she's not allowed to leave unless she submitted to a search of the contents of her phone. She and Williams were terminated while Rodriguez resigned, according to the complaint. Now, that one does sound weird, because if you are the boss and you're approaching your subordinate or someone that works with you while you're cracking your knuckles, balling your fist up like you're about to go ham on their face, like that's pretty inappropriate, but it doesn't sound like she did anything. It sounded like people intervened, cooler heads prevailed, and it also sounds like something happened where they thought that maybe she had taken a picture of something that she wasn't supposed to, whether it be Lizzo doing something or maybe documents or something like that that might have broke NDAs or stuff. I'm sure that stuff is involved here. And I just don't think that you can confine a grown person to their room. Like, Lizzo has no jurisdiction. She can't be like, until my investigation's over, you're confined to the hotel room. So I guess that's where the false imprisonment thing comes in. And that's definitely wrong. You can't do that to an adult. But if she didn't want her to leave and they needed to see something, whether it was right or wrong, the other option would have been, do you want me to call the police and I guess escalate it that way? In which case, I imagine Rodriguez would have been more upset, because it sounds like there was the potential of some type of wrongdoing going on here. So that one's kind of weird. Like, you could tell you're missing a lot of the story on where that confrontation started and what it is they thought she had actually done and what they thought she actually had in her phone. So I'm not sure on that one. It feels like you shouldn't go up to your subordinates and act like you're going to beat them up. But if you didn't do it, then that's not assault. But you definitely shouldn't send them to the room with like no dinner either, because you're not their mom and dad. If you needed to bring in real authority figures, i.e. the police, then they probably should have done that. This is what Lizzo had to say in response to the allegations. I am not here to be looked at as a victim, but I also know I am not the villain that people and the media have portrayed me to be the last few days. There's nothing I take more seriously than the respect we deserve as women in the world. Well, it doesn't sound like that's the thing you take the most seriously, you know, just because there are these allegations out there. And if you really respected these females when you went to Amsterdam, you wouldn't have wanted them to catch dildos that were being flown out of somebody's vagina, like when they weren't comfortable with it. And it sounds like in that instance, they had absolutely said, I don't want to do this and I don't feel comfortable being there. And you certainly, if you respected these women, wouldn't have been like, you need to take a bite out of that banana that's in the holiest of holies right now. You know what I mean? So let's not act like you're being the most respectful person in the world, but it does sound like, just from the details that we do have that are part of the suit, and we are only getting one side of the story, that Lizzo might be being railroaded right now. And once we get the other side of the story, some of these things will probably be a little bit more easy to understand how you got there. And I think a few of these, like, you're just going to be like, that was wrong. Like, you shouldn't have done that. But there are always three sides to a story, you know, the accuser, the accused, and then the truth lies somewhere in between. And I imagine that will all come out unless Lizzo actually has enough money to just pay these ladies off, which is probably what they're going for. But does Lizzo have a lot of money? I'm just assuming that she kind of has some money, but not a lot of money. You know what I mean? So we shall see. For the most part, and I didn't think this was going to happen once I saw the story, I guess I'm on Team Lizzo. It sounds like much ado about nothing in most of these charges, or these complaints are kind of trumped up and easily explained away with just a little bit of common sense. Now, there are definitely a few things in there that are pretty troubling, and I imagine in time more information will actually come out about that. So it was just such a weird story. I know it's a comic channel, but Lizzo making ladies catch dildos, like, I gotta talk about it. It's so weird. Now, we are at the end of the video, and I hope you had a good time. And if it's your first time visiting Thinking Critical, I do talk more about comics than anything, but I definitely cover a lot of pop culture stuff. And in fact, YouTube has decided, based on what you like to watch and what I've created, that this is the best video I ever created in the history of my channel, specifically for you. Definitely check this one out right now.